I'm a Michigan homeowner, and in the fall of 2021, I signed a contract for 10 windows from the Majic Window company. When the representative was at my house on this deck, we discussed their responsibility to get the proper building permits because I know that can take some time. Well, their salesperson, Nick, said they would take care of it and that requirement is even mentioned in their contract. Well, when the installers arrived on December 9th, I asked them about the permits, and Andy, the lead installer, said the office was on top of it and it was in process. Well, when they finished installing my windows on the 10th, the installers asked for payment. I asked if the permit inspection was done, and they said it was all set. I hadn't seen anyone from the building department at my house, so I asked where the paperwork was. At that point, they seemed a bit nervous and said I should call the installation manager. I called the installation manager, Matt Bell, while the installers were standing right in front of me waiting. I asked where the final inspection paperwork was, and he said, and I quote because I wrote it down right at the time, he said, "Oh, it's good to go." I asked him where it was, and he said, and again I quote because I wrote it down, "The final is done." So I asked him for the paperwork, and he responded saying it was in process at the office. I asked him if it was the county building department office or his office. He didn't answer that question, but did promise to get me a copy of it first thing next week. So this is Friday, right? Up to that point, the company seemed honest and reliable and credible, so I took him at his word. So we paid the balance of the contract to the installers, and they left Friday afternoon. 5 days later, I received an email from Matt Bell showing a permit application was filed the previous Friday afternoon. Not a final approval, which is the completion. He filed the application that starts the process Friday afternoon. This is evidence that the process was started Friday the 10th, the day Matt Bell said it was completed. Now, beyond that, the permit was for a home owned by someone else in a neighboring community with a similar street name. The permit wasn't even for our home. Knowing that they lied about the county inspector approving the work, I got concerned that maybe they knew the windows were wrong or not properly installed. Now, I'm not a building expert, but I do know that for safety reasons, bathroom windows need to be tempered glass, sometimes called safety glazing. So this glass costs more than regular glass. I went and looked at the bathroom window they installed, and sure enough, it wasn't tempered. So along with lying to me about the permit, they also installed an unsafe window that would not pass the county building permit inspection. I called again, and when I talked to Matt, he said he would follow up with a salesperson to see if they made the mistake. He also said it would take 5 or 6 weeks to get the replacement window made and installed. On December 20th, so that was, the week after December 10th. On December 26th, after getting no competent response from Matt, the installation manager, I contacted our county building department, and they still had no record of a permit being pulled for the job. I called the sales rep that originally sold us the windows, Nick, and he said he had no idea there was a problem, and he hadn't heard anything from Matt Bell about it. He promised he would make some calls and get back to me with an update. Never heard from him again. So to summarize, they lied to me about getting the permit. They lied about getting the final approval from the building department. They promised to have the window replaced in 5 or 6 weeks. After 9 weeks, I hadn't received any communication from them about fixing the problem and getting the inspections done. More than 2 months after the defective window installation, having no competent response from Majic Window, I filed a small claims court affidavit to see if that would get their attention and get my window corrected and the installation inspected. Well, instead of responding to me in any fashion, they had their attorney call me and tell me they plan to move the case from small claims court into district court, so I'd need to hire an attorney or risk getting beat up in front of a judge where I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm not an attorney. So it's now April of 2022. Full 4 months after they lied and performed a defective installation, and they only just called me, and I still have no idea if they're actually going to fix the window. So this is shameful. If I'd known this was how they treat their customers, I wouldn't have invited them into my house, much less hire them to install windows. To fill in some additional information, we've had windows from Wallside Window installed. They did exactly what they agreed to do with permits and final approvals and everything. We just wanted a bit nicer window than what Wallside had, and Majic is a fiberglass window. The fiberglass windows that Majic installs are made by a Canadian company called Inline. Here you can see the logo from Inline Fiberglass. So they're the company that actually manufactures the window that Majic Window installs here in the Detroit areas, southeastern Michigan areas. I feel really bad for them. I wonder if they actually know what kind of terrible customer experience their distributor, Majic Window, is providing to consumers. We haven't had the windows long enough to know how they compare to Wallside, but we sure know the customer service from Majic is terrible. And I would never recommend getting windows installed by Majic Window. Now, if you've had similar experiences with Majic Window, I'd really love to know, and by all means, put them in the comments. Thanks.